Hello, it's Kit Allowitz, and welcome back to another short video on our short series on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. By now, you've most likely have got to read the 7 Habits. How was it? Did you like it? Did you love it? I'd like to give you, yet again, another brief, biased angle on how the 7 Habits truly is one of the smartest books ever written. Why? Because Stephen R. Covey, the author of the material, he collected natural laws, and then he put them into principles, and then he went even further and put them into habits, and then he went even further and put them in a sequential fashion to offer a solution to truly living a highly effective life, however that shows up for you. So today we want to cover habit number 3, which is put first things first. This habit is all about you organizing and executing around your highest priorities, both professionally and personally, period. Now, how do you know what your highest priorities are? Well, you already figured those out back in habit number 2, which was begin with the end in mind. In habit number 3, you are executing your highest priorities year by year, month by month, day by day, hour by hour, using a time management matrix. Now, what is that? It's simply a grid to organize the items you get hit with, and it's broken into 4 quadrants. So I'd like to explain each of the 4 quadrants. Quadrant number 1 are activities that are both urgent and important. So imagine that. They must be done immediately, depending on your life, your career, and often your propensity to procrastinate or not procrastinate. There are simply going to be things that you must deal with immediately. For example, a heart attack is a quadrant 1 activity. You got to deal with it and address it right there and then. It must be done immediately. Therefore, this quadrant is called the quadrant of necessity. Quadrant number 2 are activities that you get hit with that are important but not urgent. This is a quadrant that we want to spend time in. We want to be here because anything that is important and urgent is a great opportunity to grow. However, this quadrant also carries the most temptation to put off and do it later because it's important but it's not urgent. Think of having things like having a difficult conversation, exercising, eating right, reading, learning, growing. However, the way to more balance and peace in your life is to spend and find more time in quadrant 2. Therefore, this is called the quadrant of productivity and balance. Quadrant number 3 are activities that you get hit with that are urgent, oftentimes to someone else, but not important to you. Think of some phone calls, some emails, some meetings that you have to attend, and for whatever reason, they're urgent to others, but maybe not necessarily important to you. Therefore, this quadrant is called the quadrant of deception. It has the smell and the noise of urgent to somebody else, but not necessarily important to you. This quadrant needs special attention, as well as requires courage on your part to say no whenever possible and minimize as much as possible spending time in this quadrant and clarify those activities you spend or being asked to spend in quadrant 3 so that you can reduce the time you spend there because they're not important to you, but they're urgent to somebody else. And finally, quadrant number 4, activities that you get hit with that are not important and also not urgent. Think about why would you want to spend time on things that are neither urgent nor important. Therefore, this quadrant is called the quadrant of excess and waste. We end up here oftentimes because we spend too much time, excessive time, maybe in some of the other more pressing quadrants, in quadrant 3 or quadrant 1. We end up on this quadrant whenever we are doing something too much or excessively as well. However, why would you want to spend time in that quadrant? This quadrant is called the quadrant of excess and waste. Now, habit number 3, put first things first, ensures we execute on what we say matters most from habit number 2, as well as gives us the awareness in habit number 1 that we are in complete control of our lives by being resourceful and taking initiative. I invite you and encourage you to put first things first. Find the courage to execute on things that matter most to you. I invite you to become the 7 habits. Live it, breathe it, do it, be it. I'm Kit Allowitz, and we'll see you next time.